Hello there, you beautiful people, and in this lecture, you're going to learn about another one of Python's data types, tuples in this case. Now, tuples are quite common in Python, but they're very similar to lists in how we use them, with just a few differences, so this lecture won't be long at all. By the end of this lecture, you're going to know what tuples are and how to make them. You're also going to learn what makes them different to lists and when you should use tuples for maximum effect. As an added bonus, I'm going to show you a cool trick that you can use to create multiple variables in one line of code. So let's go. Okay, so what is a tuple? Well, a tuple is simply a data type in Python that works very similar to a list. The only difference is that once you have created a tuple, it cannot be changed. So because a tuple cannot be changed once it's been created, tuples are called an immutable data type. So let's go ahead and actually create a tuple. They're rather simple to make. Let's say we have a variable called our tuple. We can create that by just having a bunch of values that we separate with commas. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3, A, B, and C. Now if I just do that and click enter, that is created our tuple. So I can check this by using the type function. If I do type of our tuple, you can see that it says it's of class or data type tuple. So that's easy enough. Now, while we can define tuples using only the comma, it's much more common, for the sake of clarity and being obvious about what we're doing, to actually surround tuples in parentheses, like this. So I'm just going to copy and paste that line and just put some parentheses around it. This is how we normally see tuples created in practice. This gives exactly the same result. As you can see, there's no errors. The type of it is still a tuple, but it's much more clear about it's much more clear what you're doing. So I'm going to stick to using this method in the future. Tuples are an iterable data type, just like lists and strings, and this means tuples are made up of little pieces called elements, and we can select each of the elements and slices of elements from tuples just like in lists and strings using the element index. So for example, if I had our tuple and I took the elements 0 to 3 using square brackets just like normal, it would give me a mini tuple of 1, 2, 3. So when you slice a list, you get a mini list, and when you slice a string, you get a mini string, and when you slice a tuple, you get a mini tuple. Simple. So the only real difference between tuples and lists is that you cannot change tuples after you've created them. Lists are mutable and therefore can be changed. Tuples, like strings, are immutable and cannot be changed after they've been defined. So if I make a list called our list, and I set that equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, now I can actually change index 2 of the list, like this, our list, index 2, and set that equal to 100. Now if I show you our list, we're going to see that 100 has replaced 3, because 3 was in index 2. So that works fine for lists. But if I try to do that with our tuple, let me show you what that is again. Our tuple is this. If I try to replace the 3, again, our tuple of index 2 equals 100, and I press enter, we're going to get a type error, and it's going to say the tuple object does not support item assignment. And you get a similar error for strings. So if I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 as a string, and I tried to, let me save that as S. So let me just do that real quick. S equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I try to change the second element of that to another thing, I don't know, let's say A, it's going to say again, string object does not support item assignment. So you've got the same thing going on because tuples are immutable, strings are immutable, but lists are mutable and therefore can be changed. Now this behavior of tuples, the fact that they combine the ability to store multiple data types in them at once, store multiple pieces of data in them at once, but they cannot be changed, makes tuples excellent for a data type where you want to store pieces of data, but you don't want that data to ever be accidentally changed or altered in any way. So that's why you tend to use tuples. You've got some data that you want to protect but refer to later, So you use a tuple for that, whereas a list, you might accidentally modify it without knowing. So tuples, you use them to protect pieces of data. You can also use the tuple function, or not tuple, tuple function, and you can tell we got it right because it went purple, to convert other pieces of data into a tuple. So let's say we have a list. I'm going to call it A, and this is going to be 1, 2, 3. I can turn A into a tuple by typing tuple of A, and that's going to give us that back. A hasn't been changed, but if I typed A equals tuple of A, now A is a tuple. So, and this will work for strings and other stuff like that. So just bear that in mind. Now, one cool trick that you can do with tuples is you can do multiple assignment. So let me show you what I mean. If I had A, B, C, this is going to be a tuple, right? Or if I did it a bit more explicitly, yeah, like that. So A, B, C equals 1, 2, 3. Now, what happens if I look at A? A is 1, B is 2, and C is 3. So you can see the way that we actually define multiple variables in one go. Now, you can actually do that, which is good. That's quite cool on its own, but you can actually do that with other iterable data types as well, like lists and strings. So for example, if I used a list, I could have D, E, F equals 1, 2, 3, and we're going to see that D is 1, E is 2, and F is 3. I could also have G, H, I, and set that equal to, let's say, 7, 8, 9, right? Now G is going to be 7, H is going to be 8, and I is going to be 9. So if you've got an iterable data type, whether it be like a tuple or a list or a string, but you've got some kind of, I suppose, a tuple on the left, you can assign them to individual items like that. So that's a cool trick. So, you know, every now and then you might want to keep it in your back pocket for a cool party trick or something like that. Awesome. So that's really all there is to tuples. Tuples basically work like a list, except you can't change them once they've been made. This makes them very useful for keeping data from accidentally being messed up in your program. You can create tuples by using the tuple function, or simply by separating a few values with commas. For more clarity, you should make sure that you surround your tuple definition with parentheses. As a bonus, you've learned how to use tuples, lists, and strings for multiple assignment. This trick won't be used everywhere, but it's a nice bit of style to throw around here and there in your code where appropriate, and save a bit of space. So check you out. You've now actually added another data type down to your repertoire. Nice and easy, right? So up next, we have another complete game changer of a data type, Python's dictionary. Dictionaries allow you to store data under easy-to-remember keys, all within one data type. We'll be using this data type to make a cinema booking system later in the section, so I don't want to spoil too much here, so I'll see you in the next video.